G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the west side, playing as the Ottomans in the colour red. We've got Sass. And on the east side of the map, in the colour purple, playing as the English, we've got Upper Tree. Well, at least that's what Google Translate says. His name didn't really make sense to me, because normally the full saying's meant to be Ants Upper Tree, but he's missing a couple symbols in there, so I don't really know what he's going for here with a name like that, so we're just going to refer to him as Purple, or the English player, or our friend in the East. One of those three. But anyway, welcome to a casted game. We're here watching, witnessing, and waiting to see exactly how Sass is going to play it. For anybody who's unfamiliar with Sass, he's quite a decent player. Currently sits at Conk 3. His opponent also Conqueror 3. Sass regularly streams over on Twitch, so if you're interested in checking that out, I'll leave a link in the description. You can go and watch him live over there. Quite a character, that guy. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about what we got going on right here. Interesting matchup. English versus the Ottomans. Of course, it's an English game. I'm an English main, and I love to watch and learn as the English get played out here. So, typically, the Ottomans, they like to avoid going for a military school early in this matchup, just simply because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? You go for a military school early, you're delaying yourself a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And what are you getting? I mean, you're getting a couple spears from your military school, and that's pretty much it. And when your enemy can just defend with their archers that have got longbows, or not longbows, but short bows, and they've got an archery range in the council hall, and they make longbows, it's like there's not really much that's going on that I can really get value from with these early spears. And look at Sass immediately responding to the men-at-arms coming out here. And this is something I've actually noticed in my games. I've just completely stopped going men-at-arms. So, you know, when Season 4 begun, I posited that men-at-arms are going to be unstoppable, just simply because they're crazy strong. They put on a huge amount of pressure. But there are so many factors that really hurt the men-at-arms. And I think this is part of the reason why I think men-at-arms rush has fallen off. I'm almost tempted to say the men-at-arms is dead. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about the feudal age, I'm not talking about the castle age, I'm not talking about the imperial age, I'm talking about the dark age men-at-arms. Now, there are circumstances where it makes sense, but I don't think Dry Arabia is one of them anymore, because when you go for this early barracks, you roll the dice. In this case, our friend in the East rolled the dice. He said, I'm going to drop down a barracks, I'm going to get out some early men-at-arms, and he does it, but look what happens. It's a back gold spawn, and not only is it a back gold spawn, but it's around two really hard wood lines to get through. Now, technically, he could have come through this way, but he decided to go around the edge. He only gets here at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and by the time he's gotten there, Sass has got all the gold that he needs. He doesn't even need to blink. He's got all the resources that he needs. He's going to be able to just stick it out, you know, throw down the Twin Minaret Madrasa, 4 vills on that. He'll put down the lumber camp here next to the wood line. Everything's safe, and then he's just going to push this back with a couple of archers. It's going to be super easy, or a couple of Spahi as well. That's another option for him. But it's super easy for him, and this doesn't really hurt him that much. The one advantage that you've got by going the men-at-arms is if you are the aggressor in this situation, you allow yourself the liberty of having that within your build order. So if you can say, all right, I'm going to open with early men-at-arms, I'm going to put that into my build order, and I'm going to account for it. And as a result, it means that you're able to very easily, what's the word I'm looking for? To refine a strategy around that. So, as an example, obviously, you guys may have seen my my English build order where we go for the early men-at-arms and the wheelbarrow in the Dark Age. So that's something that you can do. You can implement that. But I think realistically, there's not a whole lot of pressure that you get or that happens because of this. Like, realistically, it doesn't feel like a huge victory. So I'm quite happy to say, and as I said before, I don't even play men-at-arms in the Dark Age anymore. I'm a 3 TC English player now. That's all I do. Speaking of TCs, take a look at this. We've got our purple friend who is going to be going for at least one additional town center, which makes a lot of sense. I think the English as a civilization, they can just get away with going for a fast TC. Now, it depends on the matchup. It depends on the map. You know, if you're playing up against the French and the French age up at 3 minutes and 40 seconds, probably don't be rushing that super fast second TC. Maybe drop a barracks, get a spearman or two out first. But in this situation, it definitely feels like we know from our experience previously with the Ottomans, they take a while to ramp up if they're playing that military school style. They don't always do it, and we can see in this situation they're not going to. But it takes some time for them to come online. So that gives you space for this second town center. So I'm curious to see whether Sass is going to be able to punish this second town center, but my suspicion is probably not. One of the things to note that a lot of English players have been doing recently is been going for 3 TC builds. 3 TC really is feeling quite good for the English. just simply because their defensive capabilities are so strong. You've obviously got the network of castles, you've got the short bows on the villages, you've got the council hall, which acts as a double archery range. You've got the longbows with the paling, so they can defend against cavalry. There's just so many good things about why the English are such a great defensive civ. Not to mention the fact that they've got better farms and cheaper farms. It's like the list just keeps going on as to why English is the king at defending. And as a result, it means that civilizations like the Ottomans, civilizations that take a bit of time to build up, like the Chinese, the Abbasid, they can definitely be susceptible to a 3TC build from English with a nice little timing in the castle age. But we do take a look as the age ups do come through now for our purple friend over on the east side. See that he's gathering up all the stone that he needs. He's up to 358 now, just going to be moving into position. Curious where he looks for the town center. Normally, I'd be going on the gold, so I think this would be the best spot. And then that way you can kind of use the town center as a proxy towards this wood line and use it to defend. So you've got this 2TC beacon that's defending against any kind of raids. But it looks like he's going to be taking the hunt, which is an interesting decision. I mean, the hunt is one of those things where it's like, I almost feel like taking the hunt for the English is a little bit counterintuitive, and there's a couple reasons why, but mainly when you go for the hunt, you forego early farms, and the sooner you can get your farms up, the better. Obviously, it's a huge investment to do it, so I think that in this case, you know, we might see Purple go for quite a heavy strategy based around this, whether it's a lot of units, maybe it's a really fast castle. There are a number of reasons why this makes a lot of sense, but it's also a little bit of a trap, so you do need to be careful of it. But we're right on board with Sass as the first of the military schools come up. His numbers are looking really solid, playing the Ottomans like you'd play any other civilization, not going into any military schools until that almost 7 minute mark here. Going to continue putting on pressure. It looks like that town center, actually that's where the town center is. I got a little bit thrown off right here. The town center is up towards this position. The town center will get up, so unfortunately Sass not going to be able to find that TC, but I suspect the TC is going to be finding him. There it is, unloading on the Spahi, and unfortunately going to be taking quite a bit of damage there, down to 15 health. Now I'm curious what direction Sass goes with regard to his first with his first Vizier points. My suspicion would be probably goes into the meta. It just seems really common when people are playing feudal that they actually hold the phone. That could be it could be imams. He could go imams. One of the things that I have seen people do is go oh, never mind, they're already out. It is indeed the imams. Okay, I didn't realize. I was waiting for the points to come through. As soon as I saw the gold allocation there, I'm like, oh, okay, he's going fast castle. So interesting decision from Sass. So he knows he's up against 2TC. He's playing into a fast castle strategy, and I think this is definitely something that can work, but one thing to note is that the English are going to be going into that white tower, and with that white tower, it gives you a really good base defense. Really, it just helps you so much against any kind of push that's going to be coming out, and I suspect that that's what Sass is going to be looking for here. Going up against the two town centers, you really don't want to leave them alone for too long. Now, of course, there's other options for Sass. He could look into something, say, like trade as an option. Trading post isn't in the best spot, but he could look for a market down the bottom, start walling in. fact, I say it's not the best spot, but this is probably one of the best mid-map markets you could get, just simply because of how easy it is to get these walls in. Nice big stone wall around here, going to stop any kind of attacks on this position. Stone wall across here as well. And you got yourself a really nice safe trade line. Then the trade is going to be coming out through here, and you can pretty much account for everything else along that trade route. So I'd be tempted to say trade isn't a bad idea here, but that's a long way off. At least I suspect it would be. Obviously, trade bags could come through. We've seen a few more Ottoman players opting for it, but we're right on board now with our purple English player. There's a couple Spahi come around in on the backside. Spearmen are here, just sitting idle for the moment, so this is going to result in the Vils with a little bit of idle time, not a huge amount, but I suspect there might be a castle age coming through as well for our purple player. And at this point, we do see that the MIA is now getting dropped by Sass. Of course, going to be dropping it right on top of that blacksmith, making sure he reduces the time it takes for those mangonels to be spawning. Now, one of the things I'd almost be tempted to do, or say, in Sass's position, is just go for a treb. Actually, just go for a treb. Start looking to get those trebs in. I know a mangonel's great because it puts on so much pressure towards your enemy, but the likelihood that a siege, or that a white tower comes out, a springboard is just so easy for the English player to make, and I think that's something a lot of people often overlook when they're going into things like the MIA, is that siege is very easy for the English to add now because the White Tower has become by far the #1 landmark that we're seeing English players go for. A lot of people are realizing that the synergy between the feudal age and adding in those farms, together with all those extra town centers, is a good thing for the English. And once that economy gets rolling, it becomes very difficult to stop. So that White Tower gives you a lot of flexibility in defending, just simply because you can get those springlets out in 15 seconds. You know, if I'm getting attacked with 2 mangonels, I'd have to drop a siege workshop, which takes 45 seconds. Now, even if I blast that out with 4 villagers, it's still going to take a long time. It's still going to take more than 20 seconds. So I've got to worry about that. Then I've got to make the springald, which is going to take 30 seconds. Like, you're talking about a good solid minute before I've got a response. Whereas if you go for the White Tower, it's already sitting there, and you just hit the button, click the springald, and within 15 seconds, you've got it. That's the White Tower difference. All right, well, we do see a little bit of scout action out here. Not a whole bunch of action in the early game. Obviously, the Spahi did manage to make it out over to the other side of the map, but with the town center not being denied, there wasn't really much that he could look to do, and you can see right now, we have got a man who is wanting to go to the castle age, it seems. I'm loving the walls as well. This is something that a lot of English players are trending towards, walling up, just making sure their base is safe, because the most common thing you're going to see English players go for is a mobile army, right? Infantry, men-at-arms, spears, together with... Is that a meta with... No, it's not a meta with movement speed buff. So, yeah, typically you're going to see crossbows with spears, with men-at-arms. That's the most common combo. Mix in a mangonel or 2. Make sure you got plenty of springalds just to counter enemy springalds. And that's pretty much it. And it's going to be the King's Palace. Interesting decision coming out from purple here. The weird thing to me is you were already feeling pretty ahead with the 2TC. I guess the reality is he doesn't know what his enemy is up to. He doesn't know how much... I mean, he knows how much stone's been taking off. We saw the scout in this area right here. So I would assume he knows what he's up to, but this feels a little bit dangerous. Obviously, you know, you're scaling into the late game, but you're already kind of scaling into the late game, and now you're somewhat susceptible to that mangonel timing. So, well done by Sass by not switching it over. I would have been tempted to go into the trebuchet just to start tickling down the enemy White Tower. I guess it's going to take some time though. The age up does come through. 12 minutes, not a bad little timing here for our purple player. And that Imam moving out. He's already managed to secure 3 relics. Where are the relics? Oh, he just put them in his base. Oh, this is so big brain. I love this. This is people needed to start doing this sooner. I'm curious why it hasn't happened until now. So this is a really smart move by Sass. So let's explain what's happened. So Imams. He gets the Imams in the Dark Age. You can actually pick them up. But he got them in the Feudal Age. He moves out onto the map, makes sure he gets secures the relics, brings them back to his base. But he doesn't have the resources right now to drop down the monastery. He doesn't have those resources because he's spending them all on his, in this case, a mosque. But he's spending them all on his units, which is understandable. So you want to make sure that you're getting maximum value out of these Imams. So he makes sure he brings back the relics, puts them in his base. So there's, you do actually see the mosque has been brought back now. So you can see he's going to shift queue all of the relics to jump inside there. But really smart move by him to do that. Just making sure that those relics are secured ahead of time, because you don't want to just kind of be standing there fiddling with your thumbs and yeah, and everything goes wrong. All right, well, we're right on board at the moment now with our purple player as he looks to defend this position, and instead of moving into a composition around low mobility like crossbows, men-at-arms, and spears, it looks like it's going to be a knight composition coming out. So one of the main 2 compositions you do see out of the English is going to be that knight crossbow comp. So let's see if he moves into it. For the moment, it's knight spear. I tell you what, this English player, I know his name is up a tree, but he is in a whole nother world right now. I don't know if it's necessarily up a tree or whether it is it's on Mars, but he is another beast. This much can be said. Sass looking to posture out the front of the enemy base. Holding on. Outpost going to start coming down for Sass. Doing a really good job just putting them in the stealth forests. Exactly where you want to put them, just so that you're a little bit less likely to lose those villagers when you're building the outposts. Lots of good stealth forests here. You just make sure that when you're playing, you just take a look at the minimap and say, where's the stealth forest? Throw down an outpost in there. Makes life much easier. Get plenty of line of sight for it. Now a bit of siege happening over on this south side of the base. Not a lot of vills down here, but obviously it will open up a world of pain that the English player is going to have to deal with. So expect to see these units move through. Still yet to secure those walls on the front. We did see that the villager, I suspect, I think it went down. I'd have to double check. But I'm pretty sure it went down. We do see there's one worker kill. The number's starting to look good for Sass. I'm curious if he's going to go for a Janissary timing here. How many military schools? 3 military schools. So yet to reach the 4, and he's on crossbows completely. And look at this, Sass gets discovered. The consequence of not building it in the stealth forest. He got discovered. I think he probably would have been discovered anyways. Outpost is going to go down though. You can see it was about 95% completion. And now we're right on board with the English player. Because he's doing a really good job. One of the things that I've tried to implement into my own gameplay, or at least need to implement into my own gameplay, is just these proactivities, or proactive nights. Really, really important to do. Oh, we could see a bit of a trap being laid at the moment. No rewall come through just yet. Knight did get cleaned up towards that north side. And more knights coming out now for the English player. He's up to 8 knights, 10 spears. Not a huge army by any means, but should be more than enough to deal with this. Sass going to be looking for another outpost in this position. Still going to be moving over. We're right on board with him and take a look at the line of sight that's come through. He's got the resources here to pick up some emplacements if he so chose to. But keep in mind, he could be looking for a 4th military school into the Janissary timing. There's the 4th military school. So Janissary timing is now open. And Sass now going to be looking to go on the offensive, but he gets pushed back. Watch out for that mangonel. Looks like the Knights should be able to get past here. Needs to do his best to defend this mangonel. It's very exposed at this point in time. Sass, where is all of your army? Second mangonel going to be coming up, but it feels like there's nothing here from Sass right now from where it should be. Mangonel not firing off on the back line, so not a lot of value coming through these. Wallalo. Over towards the west side, he's just doing the classic beastie, trying to distract the enemy, trying to distract the caster. Can you believe this guy? But he does a decent job in holding. It felt like there was a lack of units there from him, but he seems to have found that final gear. Now begins moving into it. You can hear all the units in production. Macro's looking pretty solid. We'll switch it over. So we're at the 16-minute mark now. The macro's looking pretty solid. There we go. Those are the reinforcements I'm talking about. And there's the Springald. In fact, 2 Springalds coming out now. So did he move into a siege workshop? He has indeed moved into a siege workshop. So 2 Springalds should be enough to hold against that mangonel. And it's going to be a solid push coming out here from Sass. I'm expecting to see the Janissaries, honestly. With the knight numbers like this coming out of the English player, it feels like Janissaries would make a lot of sense. That's going to be the 5th relic being picked up for Sass here. So he's in a great spot. 1 TC, Sass, with the 5 relics, starting to take sacred sites. But remember, you're up against English 3 TC. That's the big thing, right? One thing to note, though. It appears our English player is almost out of gold. I say almost out of gold. He's got another 4K. And I guess technically these ones are the behind the walls that he wants to secure. But he is struggling at the moment with regard to his gold. You can see he was at 0 gold a minute for quite some time. When it comes to the larger gold veins, this should be quite easy for Sass to maintain control of. That mangonel rolls off the blocks. Sass continuing to push up on this north side. Make sure he's got outpost coverage. We'll give him plenty of vision in advance. Great job on the defense. Upgrade starting to come through for both players. Our English player picking up range defense, whereas Sass has already got +2. Now the center of the map, a keep is going to be dropped down. So it looks like a sacred victory might be attempted here from Sass. Just going to start securing up those sacred sites. So, 2 so far. Remember that you're typically just looking for them for the gold. But if you can get the sacred victory, or at least pressure it, you might be able to force your enemy to take a fight they don't want to. And as a result, get yourself a good little trade in. And there it is. That's going to be the 3rd sacred site. Springald's firing off. It gets exposed. Sass sees it. Does he go into the Janissaries? We'll take a look. We don't see it just yet. We'll come back. Actually, we can probably just check the UI and see whether it goes into the Janissaries. But with the 4th military school, it does open up the possibility for it. And up towards the north, villager gets picked off. He's managed to get down plenty of outposts. Have a look at the line of sight that Sass has got right now, as all 3 sacred sites have been captured. A couple of horsemen just going to be moving down here just to neutralize 1 sacred site. Towards the north, the knight's going to be doing the same thing over on that side. So he forces the imam back. Keep in mind the imams can't heal themselves. Keep holds in the center. Population difference between these two, currently 30 population, but remember, 45 of that is economic population difference. So quite a big number, realistically. Beautiful farms in the back of the base here. So many farms, in fact, that we've got here. How many vills are on food? That's 47 vills on food. That is a lot of vills on food right now. What kind of composition does he move into? Horseman, spearman, I guess. When you've got that much food, you might as well. Still no upgrades coming through yet from our English player. But the spears are going to do a decent job here. Slowly but steadily reaching that population cap. Sacred Site did remain in the hold of Sass. And now that push going to come to shove. 34 crossbows out. Keep in mind, these guys have got the extra attack speed. That push is still happening, or that attack is still happening up towards that north side. So Sass is determining exactly what he wants to do, where he wants to go. Realistically, probably take about 20 crossbows up here and would be able to clean it up. The problem that you're going to have is the enemy's got knights, very mobile units. Nice little walls coming through for Sass here. Does wall himself out of the trade post, but not a big deal. Not a huge deal. I can't help but feel like the only issue that he's going to have is that his enemy can just walk away. It's the classic case, but does look to commit to the walls though, interestingly. So going to be losing a few units here, the English player. Military numbers have suddenly evened up relatively close to each other. Maybe about 5 difference between them. Sass out in the middle of the map. Loses a couple villages. And now going to be taking out, getting all these units for free. I say getting these units for free. Obviously, he's still losing health or losing his own. But you got to remember, when he's got a mass like this, he's getting such great trades. No sprinkled emplacement on these towers just yet. So it means that he's got the fortification, just hasn't got the emplacements on them yet, which is kind of wild, Sass. Counterattack on the south. Once again, looking for this sacred site. And this is where it gets so tough, playing up against a mobile composition. So definitely the English player doing well, but Sass starting to pull ahead a pretty decent lead. First of the trebuchets comes out, immediately goes down. Knight's doing a decent job. I think it got one shot off. Yeah, one shot came off. Knights should be able to fall back. Looks like a strong spear combo coming out here. What do we got in here? Spears, crossbows. That's pretty much it. A couple of longbows in there as well for good measure. The sacred site is getting neutralized, and horsemen going to be moving on to greener pastures to see what they can find as a single spearman patrols the south against that boar. Sacred site is neutralized. The prospect of a sacred victory no longer existent. Had there been a keep down here, it would have been a different story. No keep meant it's very difficult to secure that sacred site, and we enter into the cinematic mode as mangonels and springalds move towards the front. Trebs need to be careful. The springalds move forward a fourth. The springled joins into the party, and the huge massive crossbows comes through. We're right on board now as the springalds look to trade out. He's not going to have the best trades here, unfortunately. More than enough springalds to deal with this, and crossbow numbers looking really solid here. Sass going to overwhelm his enemy. I tell you what, at this point, Purple's going to need a miracle to save himself from this. He needs a mangonel from downtown or something like that, or maybe a bit of a cavalry flank could do it, but the crossbow numbers looking really good from Sass. I love the way that he's actually making sure that he's keeping his crossbows on the back and constantly microing away. Spear's going to be moving to the front. Big shots from the mangonels. And the springal's just helping out destroy that backline. So at this point, where does the English player even go? I mean, he needs to delay. This is the thing. It might even be a good call to go Berkshire. When in doubt, get the Berkshire out. That's what they say. So this could be definitely the time to do it. Men at arms, not going to be too much help here. And the Imam, there's an Imam somewhere in here that is healing up everybody. There they are, the 2 Imams on the front, getting full value from these heals. And Sass able to push back his enemy. Doing a decent job. Nothing to really siege down this front, though. This is where you need either battering rams. And good game's going to get called. Sass just going to be able to squish the enemy. Well played there from Sass. Fellas, if you're interested in seeing more games from an Ottoman man like Sass, make sure you check him out. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can watch it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.